widespread in our vicinity, unfortunately, it was not possible for us to protect ourselves fully. This case in Turkey originates from Europe, and so far we only have one single case here in Turkey. Our Ministry of Health, in coordination with other ministries and other public authorities, are doing their best to take the protective measures that are required to combat this outbreak. And tomorrow as well, there is going to be a high-level meeting between our ministers and also with the participation of authorities from other public organizations. I kindly ask my citizens to adhere to the instructions of the healthcare professionals here in Turkey. The very first prerequisite to prevent this outbreak or the spread of this virus is cleanliness. And in our religion, in our faith, cleanliness is of great importance. That's why this should be easier for us. So since Friday last week, we stopped shaking hands, we stopped hugging, and we now shy away from doing these things, and we are doing our best to set an example, not just in Turkey, but abroad as well. Now, Turkey, inshallah, will weather this storm without any losses. We are confident that this will be the case in Turkey. No virus is stronger than our precautions. That's what we'd like to believe. Just like any other disease, as individuals, we need to be vigilant against this virus. We need to be cautious. We need to be taking precautions. And these will be the most effective protection against this virus. We need to make sure that we protect our elderly and those who are immunosuppressed. For a while, these people should not go to crowded places. That is what the advice is. Our nation has weathered many storms thus far with great success, and God willing, we will weather this storm as well. We will overcome this difficulty as well. May God help us in our endeavors. Dear brothers, dear sisters, since the last group meeting, in the course of 1 week, we have seen altogether some very important developments. On Thursday, we traveled to Moscow, and we had the opportunity to discuss with Russia the recent crisis in Idlib, and we were able to prevent the unfolding crisis in Idlib, at least for some time, thanks to the ceasefire that was achieved. The operations undertaken by Turkey in Idlib for the last week and the Spring Shield operation that we initialized is a manifestation of our determination to prevent all sorts of threats against our borders. I would like to kiss the foreheads of all our troops who participated in this operation and offer my condolences to the families of our martyrs. May their place in paradise be of the highest order. Dear brothers and sisters, being a veteran, being a martyr, for us, these are sublime ranks. In Syria, our reason for existence in Syria is not to occupy or annex Syrian territories, nor is it to engage in a wrist fight with forces in the region. Just like every step we took in Syria, our struggle in Idlib will be limited to protecting the borders of our country and limited to saving the lives of millions of people who are under the risk of a massacre in the region. This battle or if as Turkey we shy away from engaging in these battles, in a short while we will have to engage in the same battles, but this time in Turkish territory. We should never ever forget that. We have lost thousands of troops, tens of thousands of citizens in our counter-terrorism efforts, and we cannot let Turkey be sucked into a vortex of the same kind. We have a 911-kilometer borderline with Syria, and every inch of this border should be guaranteed, and we should keep away terrorist organizations as well as regime forces. Whatever we did in Jarablus, whatever we did in Afrin, or in Talabyat or Resulayn, we are doing the same in Idlib. We have done the same and we will continue to do the same. We will continue to include the rest of our borders on this circle of security. Dear friends, the operation that we initiated in Idlib was different than the others. It was not just geared towards the terrorist organization, but it was also against a power much well equipped than the terrorist organization. In this process, we were able to test the capabilities of our defense industry. We had the opportunity to gauge our prowess, and luckily we have seen that we are even ready for even larger operations by focusing on our weaknesses, by fulfilling what is missing, by further strengthening coordination, by expediting our projects. We have confirmed our determination to make Turkey an effective force both in the region and on a global scale as well. The regime is massacring innocents in Idlib by bombing them, and in the face of Turkey's power and the heroic attitude of our troops, they had great losses, and they have realized that it is not so easy to do whatever they please. Dear brothers, right after the ceasefire agreement, the people of Idlib took a breath of relief after a very long while. Of course, right now we are not able to find a lasting solution in Idlib. The regime and their militia, we don't know whether they will adhere to the ceasefire. From now, albeit small, there are some violations of the ceasefire, and we also keep an eye on them. With the Russian side, we reached an agreement and understanding, and we are sharing the recent developments with them, and we expect certain precautions to be taken. The regime and the militia that support the regime have been piling up near the ceasefire line, and we are also keeping an eye on them. We are ready to honor our promises, provided the other party also honors their promises. But if our counterparts do not fulfill their promises, then we will not shy away from confronting them even on a greater scale. Dear friends, the security of our observation points ranks the first within our list of priorities. Any attack, even a minor attack towards these points, will be retaliated in kind, and again, even in a greater scale. But let me also add something here. Mr. Kemal does not even know how many observation points we have in the region. Dear friends, there is no need to boo him. The price, they will, if you get them to pay the price in the ballot box, I think that should suffice. Only then will they understand what is what. Dear friends, there is one thing that we need to grasp really well. The AK Party cause is not an ordinary cause, dear friends. We walk the talk for the last 17 to 18 years. Have we talked the talk or walked the talk? Now, they should really study what is what. How many observation points are there? They do not even know that. And now, let me also show you our observation points in the region. I don't know whether you can see it on the screen, but starting from here, actually, this is the 12th observation point that we have. That's the closest point to the Mediterranean. Right after 12, you have 11, and then checkpoint 10, and then you go down. There's observation point 9, and 8, and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mr. Kemal, we have 12 observation points in total. And these 12 observation points are not places where Syrian troops protect us. Syrian troops did not honor the agreement that was reached, and because of that, we fired our warnings, we issued our warnings, and right now, at these 12 observation points, what we do is we continue our work with great determination and diligence. We have 12 observation points right now, and Mr. Kemal should know this, and should find out about this, and if he so desires, we can send him here as well. We can send him there as well. But he can't go. Well, right now, the agreement that was reached in Moscow, the content of the agreement, memorandum, he doesn't know what was discussed, what was laid on the table. He doesn't follow these things because his masterminds are really different. In Tel Rifat, members of the terrorist organization are trying to attack us, attack our forces, and the terrorists here will be neutralized wherever we find them, thereby preventing threats leveled against Turkey. Let's also watch some footage about that.
Suriye'de süren çatışmalar süresince İdlib, şiddetten kaçan ve yerlerinden edilmiş insanlar için güvenli bir sığınak olmuştu. Türkiye ile Rusya arasında yapılan ateşkes anlaşması bölgeyi savaştan kaçan siviller için cazip bir yer haline getirmişti. Türk askeri gözlem noktaları tarafından sağlanan güvenlik duygusu ülke içinde evlerinden olmuş birçok sivili İdlib'e getirdi ve çatışma öncesi 500 bin olan nüfusunu 3 milyonun üzerine taşıdı. Son dönemde Suriye rejimi tarafından başlatılan saldırılar modern tarihin en büyük insani felaketlerinden birini daha tetikledi ve İdlib'i tehdit etmeye başladı. Suriye rejimi tarafından başlatılan ateşkes ihlali, Türk sınırı boyunca 1 milyondan fazla sivili yerinden etti. Ülke içinde yerlerinden olmuş bu insanların çoğunluğu korkunç koşullar altında yaşayan kadın ve çocuklardan oluşmaktaydı. Neredeyse 4 milyon Suriyeli mülteciye ev sahipliği yapan Türkiye'nin sınırlarındaki insani durumun kötüleşmesine daha fazla sessiz kalması mümkün değildi. Türk hükümeti Suriye rejimini ateşkese saygı duymaya ve Şubat ayı sonuna kadar Soçi Anlaşması'nda belirtilen sınırların ötesine çekilmeye çağırdı. Aksi bir durum Türk ordusunun gereğini yerine getirmesine neden olacaktı. Sert uyarılara rağmen Esad güçleri okulları, hastaneleri ve evleri bombalamaya devam etti ve yüz binlerce insanı yerinden etti. hali hazırda milyonlarca mülteciye ev sahipliği yaparak büyük bir yük altında olan Türkiye, tek başına başka bir göçmen krizini absorbe edemezdi. Türkiye, rejim güçlerinin ilerlemesini engellemek amacıyla İdlib'e askeri harekat yapmak zorunda kaldı. İdlib güvenliğinin tehdit edilmesi, milyonlarca mültecinin Türkiye sınırını geçmeye ve Avrupa'ya gitmeye çalışmasına neden olacaktı. Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri'nin cesur mensupları, komutan ve üstlerinin çağrısına cevap vermeye ve masum sivilleri savaşın vahşetinden korumak için hayatlarını riske atmaya hazırdı. Türk birlikleri rejim saldırılarına karşı cevap verdi. 27 Şubat'ta Esad'ın savaş uçakları askeri bir konvoya sebepsiz bir hava saldırısı yaparak 34 Türk askerinin şehit olmasına neden oldu. Bu korkunç eylem Türkiye'nin Bahar Kalkanı operasyonunu başlatmasıyla birlikte sert bir misilleme ile karşılandı. Türk ordusu bu süre zarfında rejime büyük bir darbe vurarak önemli ilerlemeler kaydetti. Bölgeyi istikrarsızlaştıran ve büyük insani trajediye neden olan milisleri destekleyen rejim güçleri, Türkiye'nin son teknoloji savunma sistemleri sayesinde büyük kayıplar yaşadı. Türkiye için güç kullanımı her zaman son çare olmuştur. Ancak Türk devleti bir felaketi önleme konusunda kararlıdır. Türk hükümeti kalıcı ateşkes sağlamak için yorulmadan diplomatik bir çözüm yolunda çalıştı. Türkiye Cumhurbaşkanı Recep Tayyip Erdoğan ve Rus mevkidaşı Vladimir Putin insanlık dramını önlemek için Moskova'da son dakika anlaşmasına vardılar. Türkiye, İdlib'e kalıcı barış getirebileceğini umduğu bu anlaşmayı uygulayacak ve sürecin takipçisi olacaktır.
Değerli kardeşlerim,
Dear brothers and sisters,
az önce
now
ekranda gördüğünüz
the pictures we have seen on the screen are from the Atma camp that hosts tens of thousands of people, but the living conditions of these people are far removed from being humane. Do we get any support? No. What does Mr. Kemal say? He says our observation points are protected by the Syrian troops. What Syrian troops is he talking about? Syrian troops are not able to protect themselves to begin with. And these troops are massacring their own citizens, and he is defending Syrian troops, this person. He is alleging that Syrian troops are protecting Turkish troops. Turkish troops are made up of the sons of our nation, and they will never ever need the protection of the Syrian army. He may need protection. He personally may need protection, but the troops of our nation do not need the protection of the Syrian army. In Elbap, thus far in Jarablus, thus far in Afrin as well, we have stood tall, and in Idlib as well, we have stood tall, and in the future we will continue to do the same. Now, within this picture, what is incumbent on us is to make sure that this ceasefire prevails, but we should also be vigilant and ready against possible attacks from the region and from terrorist organizations. Are we ready for that? Yes, we are. And we have the ammunition, we have the air defense systems, we have the latest technology to help us do that. We have been engaged in this struggle thus far, and this temporary ceasefire agreement was signed in Moscow. Now, what we need to do is we need to render this a permanent ceasefire agreement, and we are working to do that right now. And once we get that done, things will be much easier for us.
Bu geçici ateşkesi
Turkey
ve buna bağlı anlaşmaları rejime veya terör örgütlerine
needs to
gücü yetmediği için değil, İdlib'deki krize tüm taraflar
focus on this,
açısından
and Turkey needs to facilitate a reasonable, practicable and sustainable solution in the region. And similarly, in the north of Idlib, around our borders, from our borders to the south, 25 to 30 kilometer deep zone has been designated to build barracks, and I'm guessing that 1,500 to 2,000 have already been built. We will continue the building of these barracks, and we want the refugees to be hosted there so that they can stay in much more comfortable premises, because we are currently in winter and we do not want these people to be staying in tents. In these barracks there will be a small toilet, a small bathroom. So basically we are building these brick barracks, and the floor will be made of wood. So we have taken this step, and we will be building around 10 to 20,000 such barracks in the region. Turkish Red Crescent and Turkish AFAD are building this, and with speed, hopefully we will complete them soon. A lasting solution to the Syrian crisis should be based on on Syria's territorial integrity. We would like to underscore the importance of this, as well as the political unity of the country. When 1/3 of the country is under the control of a terrorist organization, reaching such an agreement, such a solution will not be possible. By putting labels of YPG or SDG on the PKK, you cannot obliterate the facts. The Syrian regime and their supporters would do well to, first of all, save 1/3 of the country from the occupation of a terrorist organization. Once they do that, in Idlib and in other regions, problems will be solved with greater ease. A new constitution, free and fair elections will help Syria reach stability in a short while. And we stand ready and committed to support all sorts of steps to achieve these goals. But if the problems elsewhere continue, we will not let the provocations leveled against people who are living in peace in the region, and we call out to the international community to support our efforts. Dear friends, Turkey will somehow weather all these storms, all these problems in Syria, but the main problem is actually the threats that are leveled against our unity and our togetherness. Just like I say all the time, our biggest strength, our real strength, comes from the fact that we as a nation stand tall, stand as one. In a spirit of fraternity, we stand tall as Turkey. Every attack that tries to undermine this determination is actually much more dangerous than attacks of terrorist organizations and other powers. The determination of our nation to stand tall as one nation cannot be undermined by efforts that chairs the Republican People's Party. This person talked about our meeting in Moscow, and he made some baseless allegations, insensible allegations. This person has never engaged in a high-level international meeting between leaders. This person does not know how one needs to go into such a meeting, how to speak, how to negotiate, and how to communicate with one's counterparts. He does not know anything about one-on-one meetings and meetings between delegations, and he is making these irresponsible allegations from the rostrum of the People's Republican Party, and he is not just ignorant, but he is also insolent. He became the chairperson of the CHP as a result of a tape conspiracy, and since that day he has adhered to one school of thought, which is to undermine Turkey, which is to undermine our efforts and stand against us and stand against Turkey. He goes to Europe and he raises complaints against us. Who are these Europeans that you are complaining about us? Will you be promoted here? No, you will sink even further here in Turkey. He exhibits no other light, no other promise of politics or prescience or common sense other than doing these things. But under the roof of People's Alliance with the Nationalist Nationalist Movement Party, we have created an exemplary foundation of cooperation. And with some of other political parties in Turkey, we may not be on the same page about everything, but regarding the basic interests of our nation, we do our best to reach consensus and find a common denominator. But it is only Kılıçdaroğlu and the party affiliated with the terrorist organization that are acting in a sense of animosity towards us and towards our nation. Turkey, in order to get rid of its chains of tutelage, the CHP is acting as an advocate for those who represent tutelage. Turkey, when Turkey fights against the PKK, the CHP calls them friends and sides with them. And some of their members of the parliament actually attend the funeral ceremonies of these terrorists, and they help carry the coffin. Turkey fights against FETÖ and stands against coup plotters, whereas CHP calls it a controlled coup attempt and tries to undermine this fight. Turkey engages in the Euphrates Shield operation. The CHP does not like it. Turkey tries to protect her borders and prevent terrorist threats by launching the Olive Branch operation. CHP opposes it. With the same purpose, Turkey initiates Peace Spring operation. The CHP again does not like it. Turkey, in order to prevent humanitarian crisis in Idlib and to prevent the belligerency of the regime against Turkey, operationalizes the Spring Shield operation, and CHP once again sides with the bloody regime, not with Turkey. And Assad also calls Turkey's allies in Syria, and the head of CHP also calls them terrorists. This person, at a time when the regime killed 34 of our troops, he made the baseless allegation saying that Assad's troops are protecting Turkish troops. That is how much he has lost scale. Let's listen to him. Why are we there in Idlib? These observation points are fine, but the reason for our existence there, is the PKK there? No, the PKK is not there. Why are we there? These observation points, as far as I know, 7 of them are actually within the area protected by the Syrian troops. So in a way, Syrian troops are protecting our troops in the region. And we are piling up there. Dear friends, he's saying that our troops are protected by Assad's troops. This is how pitiful he is, and that is how low he has stooped. He doesn't know that we have 12 observation points. He thinks that we have 7 observation points in the region, no matter what he says. Unfortunately, he does not have the will to understand what is going on in the region. He has eyes, but he does not see. He has ears, but he does not hear. He has a heart, but he does not sense what is real. Just like the case, just like is the case all across the world, you cannot make public members of the National Intelligence Agency, and the CHP is doing that. This party is also trying to stop us operationalize major projects to help Turkey's breakthrough. Since this person became the head of the CHP because of the tape conspiracy, he has been engaged in activities that can be labeled as a 5th tier activity, and these activities are all about undermining the countries that they are put to practice in. But actually, without any responsibility, without having any knowledge, without having a nationalistic outlook, you cannot do this by engaging in these baseless allegations from behind a rostrum. It is easy to be a traitor, it is easy to be hateful, but making politics this way does not make you skillful. What makes you human is when you overcome all these barriers. And unfortunately, this person's true colors have been revealed. What is difficult is to protect the rights of millions of oppressed people, defending the interests of our nation, and working hard to leave a prosperous nation to the future generations, to find solutions and to make sacrifices if needs be. Kılıçdaroğlu has chosen the easier path in line with his constitution, in line with his nature, but us, we cannot do that. We have dedicated our entire lives to our nation, to our country. Despite all the difficulties, despite all the trials and tribulations, we will always pursue what is more difficult, and we will get done what is right. Dear youngsters, you should not be jealous of the girls. Congratulations. Yes, let us not forget that the mornings will be brighter than snow. You know what the poet says? If you say, let us demolish this Süleymaniye mosque, all you need is a shovel and 2 workmen. But if you want to rebuild it from scratch, you need a Sultan Sinan, an architect Sinan, and a Sultan Süleyman. Yes, these people only know how to demolish, how to knock down, but what we do best is to build and to help prosper. Regarding the Syrian issue, regarding all the other issues, we haven't heard a concrete proposal from Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu so far, but if he really wants to take responsibility, it is quite easy for him to do so. He can nominate himself for the 2023 presidential elections. From now, he can make such an announcement. And until the elections, he can announce what he plans to do, and if he proves popular at the ballot box, then he can become the president and do what he says. But other than that, the only expectation of our nation from this person is to at least keep silent regarding issues that have to do with national security. If he cannot support us, if he cannot support our endeavors, at least he should remain silent on these matters of national security. Dear friends, another important point is the issue of immigrants that are moving towards our European borders. Right after the attacks leveled against our troops, we decided not to prevent immigrants or asylum seekers that want to go to Europe. This is not by force. These people want to go to Europe. For 9 years now, we have fed them, we have clothed them, we have done everything that we were supposed to do, but now they want to go to Europe, and we are not going to stop them by force. And months before, actually, what did I tell European leaders? I said, look, if this burden is not shared fairly, we will have to open our gates. We will have to open our borders. Did I say this? Did I make this announcement to them? Yes, but these people thought that I was joking, that I was not serious. But now we have opened the gates. And now our guests leaving. Yes, they are, and we're not holding anyone in Turkey by force. We would never do such a thing. After this decision, around 150 immigrants went to the Greek border. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Geneva Convention requires that these people should be allowed free passage to Greece and then to other countries if they so desire. But in contravention with international agreements and in contravention with humanitarian values, Greece has tried to stop these asylum seekers by force. Let us now remind ourselves what took place last week. Let us remind ourselves of the hypocrisy of the West and Greece. You see the Greek boat in front, and it is followed by the Turkish boat. This is how it will be in the future as well. But there is no difference between what the Nazis did and what took place at the Greek border. Whatever the Nazis did in concentration camps, you see that the Greeks are also on behalf of the West, and they're like the mercenaries of the West. You see the pictures, you see the back of that poor youngster, and also there are those that were killed. These are the paid mercenaries of the West, and this is what they did. Is the West looking and seeing, looking at these and seeing what's happening? At the Brussels summit, we explained these things to them, and I said to them, look, if you want, I can bring you my iPad and show you all these pictures on the iPad. But our colleagues could not bring in the iPads because of restrictions on electronic devices in the building. You know, they always have this mentality for years and years on end. Turkey has always embraced the oppressed that sought refuge on its borders, and as Turkey, we are really saddened by these pictures, because these people are trying to save their lives and build a better lives for their children, and these people are innocent, and the fact that they were attacked with bullets and boiling water and gas bombs and tear gas, all of these are actually nothing short of barbarism. And we know how oppressive the Greek can be, and right now they're repeating what they did throughout history. But these people are not going to remain in Greece. They should open the doors, the borders, so that these people can go to the affluent euro-rich countries or dollar-rich countries of the West. Why shouldn't they let them pass? Why are they preventing them? Why are they engaging in these Nazi practices? They're stripping these immigrants down to their underwear, confiscating their telephones, their passports. They beat them up and send them back. And this is something that needs to be opposed. But no one is saying anything against them, because they are EU members. No matter what international meeting, international conference, we will always be reminding our counterparts of these crimes against humanity. We will always be conveying these messages to the leaders that we get together with. Our healthcare professionals did their best to provide first aid to these immigrants, and we found out that sadly 4 people also lost their lives. We are trying to stop a new influx of immigration from Idlib that has the potential to bring in 1.5 million people. At a time like this, the European countries cannot even make room for a couple of thousands of immigrants. When it comes to talk, they talk about democracy, but when it comes to practice, they have revealed their true colors as true fascists. The Grand National Assembly Human Rights Committee went to the border and drew up reports about what went on in the border. These pictures coming from the Greek borders have revealed the true colors of Europe, and actually this attitude is not new at all. As you know, after the escalation regarding the Syrian crisis, on the 18th of March in 2016, we reached an agreement with the European Union. As per that agreement, we would accept irregular immigrants coming from Europe, and European Union would help settle down one person, one immigrant in one of the EU member states. And also, they were going to provide financial aid to Turkey so that the needs of these asylum seekers would be met. And as part of our EU membership bid, we have done a lot. And the agreement covered many other areas such as free movement and visa liberalization, and we have done whatever was expected of us. We have prevented millions of irregular immigrants from Turkey to Europe, and daily passages on the Aegean went from 7,000 per day to 70 per day, and passages towards Europe were reduced by 92%, and we also sent back to their countries millions of irregular refugees coming from other countries other than Syria. But the European Union has fallen short of fulfilling its responsibilities. The financial aid that was pledged was not made, or very indirect ways were used, and a vast majority went to waste. And regarding free movement, regarding opening up of new chapters, unfortunately we have seen no progress from the EU side. After the recent developments in Idlib, Turkey decided to not prevent irregular immigration flow from Turkey, and this caused an alarm in Europe. For the last 2 weeks, I've had the opportunity to talk to many European leaders on the telephone, and many European Union officials came to visit us, and we had the opportunity to talk to them face to face about these issues. And the day before we went to Brussels, we got together with NATO officials as well as EU refugees for years, and they have pledged even smaller amounts, and they have not even sent that amount in. Similarly, as per the 18th of March agreement, they pledged 6 billion euro, and half of this amount has not yet arrived. We have paid a very high price in Idlib to build peace and to prevent a bigger humanitarian crisis, and again, we have not seen any proper support from Europe. This hypocrisy is actually showing us that Europe is demolishing its own values single-handedly, and single-handedly they're preparing their own end. Despite this, thanks to the delegations that we have drawn up, we will continue to work until the leaders summit that will take place on the 26th of March, and we will present our plans to our counterparts, to our interlocutors. Our objective is to make sure that Syrians in Turkey can go back to their countries, and also making sure that Syrian people can remain in Syria. And we will take these steps no matter what, whether the EU supports us or not. Turkey has many expectations, such as free movement, opening up of chapters, updating of the customs union. Until these expectations are met, we will continue the current practice on our borders. As we venture into summer, into warmer months, this irregular influx of refugees will not just be limited to Greece, but will reach the entire Mediterranean region. We do not want anyone's donation. We are not begging for charity. What we want is the honoring of the promises that were made to us. Until we get to that point, we will do as we please, and we will stick to our path. The Europeans would do well to think about the implications of this. Dear friends, tomorrow marks the 99th anniversary of the adoption of the Turkish national anthem by the Grand National Assembly, by the great poet Mehmet Akif Ersoy. Taking this opportunity, I would like to commemorate him with my deepest regards and my deepest admiration. Every line, every verse of our national anthem is a manifestation of the struggle of the Turkish nation of the last 2 centuries. The national anthem appeals to our hearts, talks about Adhan, talks about martyrdom, talks about our flag, and as such, our national anthem speaks to our hearts and increases our enthusiasm. Those who do not know their history will not be able to take ownership of their history, and as such, they will have no future. Indeed, that is why it is imperative that all our youngsters know our national anthem, not just the first 2 verses, but 10 verses in their totality. They should grasp the spirit of our national anthem, and they should etch the meaning of our anthem to their hearts. Because of the complexity of the composition, even some of the messages in the first 2 verses are not well understood by our youngsters. That's what I believe. But we need to make sure that everyone, all our youngsters that study in Turkish schools, know in and out by heart these 10 verses, 10 stanza of the Turkish national anthem. This national anthem is an embodiment of our unity, of our existence, of our freedom, and this will help us, guide us in our future. Those who do not like the national anthem, those who do not like the messages of the national anthem will be judged by the Turkish nation. As I conclude my remarks, I would like to read out the 10 stanzas of the Turkish national anthem. Fear not, for the crimson flag that proudly waves in these dawns shall never fade before the last fiery hearth that is ablaze within my nation burns out. And that is the star of my nation, and it will forever shine. It is mine and solely belongs to my valiant nation. Frown not, I beseech you, O thou crescent, but smile upon my heroic nation. Why the anger? Why the rage? Our blood we shed for you will not be worthy otherwise, for freedom is the absolute right of my God-worshipping nation. I have been free since the beginning, and forever will be so. What madman shall put me in chains? I defy the very idea. I am like the roaring flood, powerful and independent. I'll tear apart mountains, exceed the oceans, and still gush out. The lands of the west may be armored with walls of steel, but I have borders guided by the mighty chest of a believer. Recognize your innate strength and think, how can this fiery faith ever be killed by that battered, single-fanged monster you call civilization? My friend, leave not my homeland to the hands of villainous men. Render your chest as armor and your body as trench. Stop this disgraceful rush, for soon shall come the days which are promised. Who knows, maybe tomorrow, perhaps even sooner. View not the soil you tread on as mere earth. Recognize it, and think about the shroudless thousands who lie so nobly beneath you. You're the noble son of a martyr. Take shame, hurt not your ancestor. Unhand not, even when you're promised worlds, this paradise homeland. What man would not die for this heavenly piece of land? Martyrs would gush out. You're one to just squeeze the soil. Martyrs, may God take all my loved ones and possessions from me if he will, but may he not deprive me of my one true homeland for the world. O glorious God, the sole wish of my pain-stricken heart is that no infidel's hand should ever touch the bosom of my sacred temple. These adhans and these shahadas that my hearing is accustomed to are the base of my religion, and may their noble sound last loud and wide over my eternal homeland. For only then shall my tombstone, if there is one, lay its forehead on the earth 1,000 times in ecstasy, and tears of fiery blood shall gush out of my every wound. and precisely so shall my corpse gush out from the earth like an eternal spirit. So flap and wave like the bright dawning sky, O thou glorious crescent, so that our every last drop of blood may finally be worthy. Neither you nor my nation shall ever be extinguished, for freedom is the absolute right of my ever free flag, for freedom is the absolute right of my God-worshipping nation. Yes, if needs be, we will shed the last blood that we have in our bodies to protect our independence, to protect our freedom, and to protect our nation. With these sentiments, I'd like to greet you once again with my deepest regards and wish you every success in your work at the Parliament this week. And now, let us proceed with the next part of our schedule. Emin Bey is now going to introduce to us who is with us here today at this group meeting, and there will be new additions to our party as well, and we will be introducing them to you now.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımıza konuşmalarından dolayı gönülden teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi de Sayın Genel Başkanım, Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, müsaadelerinizle partimize katılımlarla ilgili bölüme geçiyoruz. Değerli arkadaşlar, partimize katılacak olan değerli arkadaşlarımızla birlikte o ilin il başkanını, ilçe başkanını, belediye başkanını, milletvekillerini ve mahalli idarelerden sorumlu genel başkan yardımcımızı sırasıyla kürsüye davet edeceğim. Önce Ağrı'dan başlıyoruz. Ağrı Patnos Dedeli Belde Belediye Başkanı Sayın Reşit Kıvancı, il milletvekillerimizi, il belediye başkanımızı ve milletvekillerimizi kürsüye davet ediyorum. Ağrı Tutak Belediye Başkanı Sayın Bülent Duru'yu da kürsüye davet ediyorum.